He was a genius, a tortured soul, a voice of sunshine with a mind wrapped in storm. Brian Wilson lived his life behind music and behind mystery. But behind the harmonies and heartbreak were secrets. Today we're exploring 10 secrets Brian Wilson kept until his dying bed. Some are touching, some are tragic, all are deeply human. Welcome to Review Daddy, where we decode the mystery of every trend. Let's dive deep. 1. He feared pet sounds would be his last work. At just 23, Brian finished Pet Sounds, a masterpiece hailed by critics and artists alike. But in his private journals, he confessed something haunting. "I thought that might be it. I didn't know if I'd survive myself." He poured every ounce of emotion into that record, afraid he might not live to make another. His panic attacks were daily, his paranoia rising. That wasn't just a record. It was a farewell wrapped in orchestration. 2. He heard voices for decades but hid them. The world saw a quiet genius. But inside Brian's mind, voices, constant, cruel, commanding. For years, he kept this a secret from even his brothers. In a rare interview, he later revealed, "They told me I was worthless. They never shut up." Brian lived with undiagnosed schizoaffective disorder for years. He masked it with music, but the silence between songs was where the demons screamed loudest. 3. He believed God only knows was dictated by a higher power. Most artists talk about inspiration. Brian Wilson, he believed God only knows was sent to him, literally. In private letters to friends, he wrote, "That song didn't come from me. It was delivered. I just received it." For Brian, some melodies weren't created. They were spiritual transmissions. 4. He hid his broken bond with Dennis until it was too late. Dennis Wilson, his wild younger brother, was both muse and mystery. They fought, grew distant, and then Dennis drowned in 1983. Brian rarely spoke of it, but years later in unpublished notes he wrote, "I never said I was sorry. I should have hugged him." His silence wasn't apathy. It was grief wrapped in guilt, a secret ache that never left him. 5. He wrote an entire album for his father that he never released. Murray Wilson was their father and manager, and often their tormentor. But after his death, Brian privately composed a full piano album titled For Murray. Never released, never shared. One surviving tape contained a single label. He never said he was proud. Maybe this will say it for him. Brian, despite everything, still longed for his father's approval. In silence. 6. He secretly recorded himself talking to God. Tucked deep in his private tape archives were hours of Brian speaking, not singing, talking to God, begging for peace, asking for purpose. Some tapes feature long silences, then quiet sobs. Then, "Tell me what to write, Lord. I'm listening." These weren't performances, they were pleas. 7. He hated his voice by the 1980s. The golden falsetto that launched 1,000 hits. Brian came to despise it. Decades of smoking, mental health meds, and emotional pain aged his voice. In private interviews, he admitted, "I sound like a ghost of myself. I avoid mirrors and microphones." He sang less, not out of choice, but sorrow. 8. He secretly paid for dozens of young musicians' careers. What the public never saw? Brian's quiet generosity. Several rising indie artists have anonymously credited an old fan named Brian with saving their music dreams. Studio time, rent, mixing sessions, all covered, no credit taken. Turns out, Brian gave back the way he received, through music, not words. 9. He wrote a second Smile album he destroyed. Everyone knows about Smile, the lost album that became legend. But in the 1990s, Brian tried again, crafting a mirror album he called Echoes of Smile. Only one demo survived. The rest burned, literally. He said, "It was too close, too much memory, too much me." 10. He left a final song, unreleased, titled Silence. In the last decade of his life, Brian recorded less and less. But one final track, labeled Silence, exists in his estate vault. The story goes, it contains 30 seconds of ambient sound, followed by a single chord. Then nothing. No lyrics, no vocals. Just a message. Sometimes silence says everything I couldn't. Brian Wilson gave us joy, harmony, sunlight. But beneath the music lived a man who carried storms no one heard. His secrets weren't scandal. They were soul, private truths locked inside genius. And as his melodies echo into eternity, so do his silences. Because sometimes, the greatest songs are the ones never played. Finally, what's the most powerful Brian Wilson moment you've ever heard? Comment below. If this story moved you, like and subscribe.